Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Xbox Dude 41, and today I'm starting a new series called Tech Days, where hopefully every week I'll be showing you guys something cool about technology, networking, or anything relating to computers, technology, and all that stuff like I just said before. So today's video, as you can see in the title, is about CPU and CPU cores. So I'm going to talk briefly about the single core, which is the older type of CPU. The ways those were organized were, here is one CPU module, that's the actual chip itself, and that was it. And what happened was, there are transistors, and they still exist today in the multi-cores, but I'll tell you guys about it when I get there. I'm just going to draw a bunch of these things, hopefully I don't interfere with any of the other ones. And what I'm drawing right here are things called transistors. These are the things that make CPUs process. If I light on? Yeah, it's on. It's a little dark, whatever. And what happens with these is they basically turn on and off to symbolize binary code, which is read by programs and interpreted to do a command. Like if you press the mouse pad, you click on a link, it'll send binary digits to a program that will read them and say, oh, that stands for this link, let's redirect it. But what happens is, in the single cores, when they started to find new technology to make them faster, and we went from 1 gigahertz, which was one of the older processors, all the way up to 4.0 gigahertz, which is where we are now, and we can even go faster than that. And my computer has an 8.0 gigahertz with a quad core. Is it a quad core? I think it's more than quad, but anyway, we've gone to that far. Now, we weren't this far when we were still on single cores, because when they hit about 2 or 2.5 gigahertz, I think that was the number, I'm not so sure, these scientists that specialized in this technology started to realize that these CPUs were getting way too hot, they were very expensive, and they used a ton more energy. So what ended up happening was these transistors would start to get so hot because of all the heat generated from this, and people who overclock CPUs know that when you overclock to a faster frequency, if you don't have a good cooling system in your PC, you're going to burn your stuff out. And what happens is these things will start to melt together, and eventually the CPU will die. But while these are happening, you are basically killing your money and throwing it down the garbage. So what they devised was something like this, which is the same chip, but they break it up into 4 parts called cores. So when you see quad core, there's 4 cores. When you see dual core, there's 2 cores. And each of these cores act as another CPU. So you can see right here, our single core is one of these, is basically this. Only if you have a 4.0 gigahertz rating for your CPU, that means, because when we were on 1.0 gigahertz for the single cores back in the day, it wasn't so much of a problem. The heat wasn't so bad. So instead of jumping on the same chip with no separate cores, and we just jumped right to 4.0 gigahertz, and we burnt those out, we are now separating this one into 1 gigahertz, 1 gigahertz, 1 gigahertz, and 1 gigahertz. And together, these make 4.0 gigahertz. Now, these are actually a lot cheaper, energy efficient, and they don't get as hot. And all in all, they're probably better. And I'm going to say this right now, mostly better. And I'll show you guys why mostly in a little bit. Let's focus on the good points of this. So I'm just going to label these 1, 2, 3, and 4 to represent each core ID number. And we're going to draw a simple diagram of a square right here. This is not a CPU, this is just a diagram. Circle on that end, half circle, sorry, and a square on this edge. What the single core does is it processes this in serial. And what serial means is it processes it all in one job. It does not break it up. It does it as it is. So this would do is simply flip the image so that it looks like this. I'm going to draw really quickly. There we go. That's how it would look like now. It does it all in one job. That makes a lot of heat, and it makes uses up a lot of energy. And serial is actually how your brains process information, if you didn't know that. What parallel does is, on the multi-cores, these things for the most part use parallel. And what that does is it takes the standard one right here and will break it up into two separate jobs. This is more efficient because now each core is only processing a little bit of information, not the whole thing. And what happens is a program will interpret this readings from the CPU, and it'll put together a lot quicker. Because what happens with this one is it'll take the CPU with multi-cores, will assign core, let's just say 1 and core 2. Core 1 will be assigned the square spot, and core 2 will be assigned the circle spot. And together, well, not together, they'll separately change them so that it looks something like this. I'm drawing them not together for a reason. So this is what core 1 is seeing and what core 2 is seeing. And now what happens is on programs, actually it's not programs, it's on the actual CPU, it'll send to another core somewhere, and it'll put it together so that it's one big thing again. Now, the reason I said mostly before, I'm going to go into now. This is not supposed to be, this is good, but can't talk today. There's a small difference in timing since the CPU needs to give a little more commands to each of its transistors on the cores. But that's almost unnoticeable. I doubt you'll have a problem with that. The problem arises when you have something that can't really be processed in parallel. And I'm going to write some very simple code, and if you recognize this, you know how to read it. If, then, and else. So now, you can't just skip with core 1 processing if and core 2 processing else. It doesn't work that way because it's got to go like this, down. If, let's just say, user clicks the A button, then type A on the screen. Else, which means if it's not the A, find letter. And that you can't just jump from if user presses A right down to check for letter, because you don't know what the then is now. And the CPU can't really process it all together to make one big thing like it can render this square right here. So this is where it gets a little bit tricky and where you start to get your cores getting overloaded. Because now only one core can work on this. You can't separate it into two separate jobs on the cores. And you can't really send if on one, then send it to core 3 and have 3 process the next one. It would just be so slow, and this doesn't work that way. So now you actually get a what was I talking about? Man, why did I forget this stuff? Oh. So only one core can process this, and you're basically back to your single core. So that's why I say mostly better. But that's really how it works, and most processors today work on that principle just because it's a lot more efficient. And for those processes that have to be processed in serial, unfortunately that's how it's going to work. It's going to send it to only one core, and only that one core will work on it. So it's a little less efficient, a little more efficient in certain ways. But still, if you think about it, would you rather have one core working on this and then have 3 other cores that are basically idle, and you can run another program, and these cores can process that program while it's reading this code? So actually, it's better in all ways, because now this one is clogged up processing the code down here. These 3 cores are now accessible to process other programs. So personally, I like the multi-cores a lot better, and I think everybody will agree with me on that, because single cores really, we've gotten to the point where programs need very fast CPUs to work, and slower single cores that don't overheat as easily can't keep up with it, and we can't just skip right over the 4.0 gigahertz, like I said before, because you'll get these transistors that start to melt. Also, before I leave, I just want to give you guys a couple quick announcements of the channel. The upload schedule now, like I said before in the beginning of the video, will be tech days, will be once a week. Not necessarily on Fridays. It might change, but once a week schedule only will apply if I have enough ideas or recommendations, which is why for this series I will need your help with it. If you have any recommendations for any kind of video relating to technology, let me know in the comment box or send me a message on YouTube, and I'll be sure to read it and consider putting it in one of the videos, as well as giving you credit, of course, since it was your idea to put it in. For the, what was their series called? Quick Tips for Windows PCs. That is only when I learn something about the computer. So if I don't find anything new, that means that I'm posting another video on that. If I have something new, then that means I found an idea, I have something to show you. But don't expect that to be a weekly series, because it's just not going to be happening, because I don't have time to fiddle around with the computer 24/7 to find new things. Also, regarding the computer that I told you guys I'd be getting a while ago, I actually just got the iPhone 5, and I'm recording with it right now, which wasn't a big deal if my parents bought that for me. But still, I don't have the money at all to buy a computer no matter what. So if I didn't get the iPhone, I still wouldn't have the money. The computer is, I think, 3.5 grand. So it's pretty expensive, and I only have 1,000 so far. So I'm pretty far off, but as soon as I get that, I'll be sure to let you guys know about it and post a video on how to put it together, because it will be ordered in parts. But anyway, those are the announcements for the upload schedules and future videos. If you liked this video and found it helpful, be sure to leave a like. It really helps me out and helps me decide whether I did a good job or not and what I can improve on. If you have any questions at all, leave it in the comment box below, and I'll get back to them as soon as I possibly can with an answer if I have it. And subscribe for future videos. I'll be posting a lot more videos within the next couple months, since it's summer, and I'm going to be getting new equipment soon, so it'll be a lot easier to record. But anyway, with that aside, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, because it took me a while to get all this information. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, and have a good day.